Let's go. So around 7 o'clock this morning, Sharon and I,
Your girlfriend.
my girlfriend, woke up to what sounded like a siren, like the light sound of a siren, and it didn't seem right. So we opened the window. It was definitely a siren, and then soon we discovered that sometime during the night, Israel had carried out an assassination of basically the leader of the military wing of Islamic Jihad, Baha Abu al-Atta. Am I saying that right? Yeah. And this is something that probably most of you know. And then a series of escalations took place over the day. Now we're after many rocket attacks from Gaza and return attacks from the IDF. And that's why we're here today to talk about it. So we're joined by Anna Ahronheim, military correspondent for the Jerusalem Post, who can help us maybe understand what the heck is going on.
I mean, I'm running on a few less hours of sleep than you are. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning seeing reports, and 6 o'clock comes by and my partner wakes up, and he wakes up from a nice sleep, and I'm on my computer working already. Now, the situation in Gaza is such that we don't only have Hamas being the main player, right? Mm-hmm. Hamas is a terror group that runs the Strip, and Israelis and the world has known them to be responsible for being behind countless attacks on Israelis. But actually, it's Baha Abu al-Atta that's been causing most of the problems in Gaza this year. Mm-hmm. We haven't gone to war in Gaza, right? We haven't seen troops cross in, but how many rounds of violence have we seen over the past year? How many people have
Countless.
died? Yeah, we've seen over 2,000 rockets launched from Gaza into Israel.
And the round in May was started by snipers from Islamic Jihad, right?
Yeah, under the command of Baha Abu al-Atta.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy doesn't even listen to his bosses in Damascus. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Islamic Jihad is headquartered in, or in Tehran. And Iran, funds and trains and everything that Islamic Jihad has comes from Iran.
Which is peculiar because Iran is Shia and Islamic Jihad is Sunni. But before we dive in, first of all, I want to remind our listeners, guys, we're live on our Facebook page.
You can ask us questions. I can't see the Jewish Journal one. I don't know why.
Okay, we're live on our Facebook page, on Arutz Sheva, Israel National News, on the Jewish Journal. We should be live. So ask questions, comment. We'll try and hit Anna with your questions. So
why now?
First of all, when exactly did the assassination take place?
At around 4:10 in the morning, I believe.
Okay, and this was there was some talk in the media today, so I feel like we should address it. It's peculiarly timed. A lot of people have speculated, but is there to Naor's question, why now?
Why now? Well, defense officials are saying it was timed perfectly in terms of an operational timing. This is when it had to happen. The head of Israel's Shin Bet today at a press conference said that the stars aligned for the Israeli Air Force to carry out this precision strike, which I have to say, I mean, looking at the pictures, really only his bedroom was hit. The floors below
Very precise.
Yeah.
Aiming.
Yeah, and I don't want to call it a surgical strike.
Right.
But
it's neurosurgical almost.
Yeah, but it was. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure that, the Israeli military has always said that we try our best not to harm any civilians. And looking at that picture, you can see it's clear that they really didn't want to do any damage more than they're already doing.
He was sleeping in his bed, right?
Yeah, with his wife. And
so him and his wife went.
So he had a worse morning than you, Eitan.
Yeah, and then Anna.
And then yeah.
Yeah, but his children weren't injured, weren't killed. They were injured, but
oh, good.
They weren't
so we
killed.
Have something to look up for in 20 years.
Yeah. So it happened.
Too soon?
Yeah, maybe a little bit too soon.
Okay.
So it happened at 4, and the reason that it's happened at this time, there was this window. I mean, until now he was underground?
Well, the military said that he's been acting like a fugitive. Honestly, when was the first time you heard of this guy's name?
Today.
Yeah, nobody knew of him.
That's bad PR. He should have got.
Maybe it's exactly what he wanted.
That's exactly what he wanted. He was
Yeah.
living like a fugitive. He was, hiding and trying his best to stay out of the spotlight because that's what terror leaders do. That's what terrorists do. But he was a household name in Gaza. Everybody knew who he was. And he was on the military's, one of their top targets for years. They've tried many times before to take him out in 2012 and 2014. And over the past few months, the army has pointed at him and has displayed his picture and named him as the biggest nuisance troublemaker that you have in the Strip, that he's the one who is stopping Hamas from coming to a long-term ceasefire with Israel.
What's the difference between jihad, Islamic Jihad, and Hamas?
Well, both of those groups want to destroy Israel and want to, wipe out the country and its citizens from the face of the planet. But the difference is that Abu al-Ata and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and I have to say, as opposed to many others, I say Palestinian Islamic Jihad because Islamic Jihad is a terror group on its own.
Okay.
So Palestinian Islamic Jihad under Abu al-Ata doesn't really have any responsibilities towards the citizens in the Strip, unlike Hamas, which is, they bear full responsibility. The people come to them.
They don't really take responsibility.
No, they don't. They spend their money on terror tunnels, but they're the ones who are supposed to be building up the
Supposedly
infrastructure.
accountable. I see.
And the rumors we heard that Hamas might have been in its interest to eliminate this guy. Does that?
I mean, they were taking the fire when he was right.
They always took the fire.
In reaction to the May
But the question is,
escalation.
are they really different from each other?
If you look at their core beliefs, no.
Yeah,
but if you
so-
see how they're acting, yes.
But maybe it's a charade. Maybe, Hamas was conveniently, I'm the responsible and he does it. It's not me. So it's not my fault, right?
For sure. But at the same time, if you
So-
look at the leader of Hamas, Sinwar, he's really a pragmatic person in terms of Hamas leadership. Under him, Gaza has actually gotten better. There are more hours of electricity. Israel is wanting to work towards a ceasefire. Israel has rarely restricted the fishing zone, and which they did today. But but of course, Hamas is a terror group. Everybody understands that. Everybody agrees on that. But it was a terror group which was more likely to keep the quiet in Gaza down because they're afraid of losing their population. They're afraid of losing support, and they want to stay in power, just like Bibi. Bibi wants to stay in power, right? Hamas wants to stay in power, right? But that
compare.
comes not comparing, but that goes back to your question: is why now? That you asked earlier.
Right. But okay. But then again, but I heard that. First of all, there's been a change of policy in the sense that now, up until today, whenever some organization shoot rockets at us, Israel said, okay, but Hamas is responsible, so Hamas will pay the price, right? And now for the first time, and you see it when the IDF spokesman releases his, his tweets or whatever, he doesn't say Hamas, he emphasizes Islamic Jihad, right? So they made like a silent deal with Hamas that like you don't intervene and we won't hurt you. Is that true?
According to some reports, Israel sent that message to Egypt, that if Hamas doesn't fire rockets and doesn't join the escalation, Israel's not going to target Hamas. But this is true. For the first time, Israel is not targeting Hamas or going specifically after Islamic Jihad.
For those who join us now, we're live because of today's events here in Israel. We had an assassination. Careful with the cable there. We assassinated a terrorist in Gaza, and there have been rocket attacks all day long, including in Tel Aviv. And we're joined by Anna Ahronheim. Sorry,
Yeah. Just to give
from the Jerusalem Post. If you have questions, please. Does your
leave them
live
in the
feed work?
comments. Yeah.
Okay,
We got
because
some people tuning in from Florida,
ask questions,
from Texas.
guys. Ask questions. We have Anna here from the Jerusalem Post, one of the top
So
reporters
we
on
have
the matter.
We have a fan who said, sorry, but you can't compare Bibi with Hamas. I don't think
I'm
that
not
was
comparing.
the intention. Yeah, guys.
Yeah,
I don't
not
think that was,
comparing.
seriously, I don't think that was the intention. But just to kind of paint a picture, today it's not unprecedented, but it is very different in the sense that, I mean, throughout the past year and throughout I mean, as long as anybody can remember the last decade, the South, especially surrounding Gaza, has always felt this tension between Israel and Gaza. Rockets have always been fired. I think the last one was 10 days ago. There was a rocket, but today was especially different because, as Noah pointed out, it was felt in Tel Aviv. School was canceled all the way to the Dan region, which includes Tel Aviv and Ramat Gan.
For the first time
I
in
didn't go to work.
20...
Since 2014.
No, but schools were canceled, I read, for the first time in 27 years in Tel Aviv.
I believe they were also canceled at the
That's-
beginning of the war in
That's
2014.
that's what I read, but maybe it wasn't.
Anyway, it was very different today in central Israel.
We felt what the South feels every other month.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. So before I was talking about the comments made in the media today that and for the most part they were shot down, but there were here and there some voices that were saying that this was politically motivated by Bibi. How can you comment on that?
I mean, I don't know what goes on in his head and what goes on in cabinet briefings, but the talk of assassinating Baha Atta actually came up last year. This is what Lieberman, the former defense minister Avigdor Lieberman, said. And he said that last year Bibi blocked any operation because the top brass of the military was against it. Happened again in September, that the military was against it. So this time the military said it was perfect timing, and so we acted. I don't think that the political considerations of Bibi and the fact that he wants to stay in power, like I said before, have anything to do with the fact that when timing is right, and you have to stop someone from carrying out attacks on your civilians, on your population, you know, on your wife and child, you're going to act on that.
Mm-hmm. And do we have any indication as to why the timing wasn't right beforehand?
It could be that he was surrounded by too many other civilians. Mm-hmm. That possibly could be it. Could be that they didn't know where he was.
Like, this is judging from like past ways that the military has acted.
It could be that he was in a location that just didn't allow for such a precision strike.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we know about? There was another assassination in Syria,
right?
Simultaneously, almost.
Right, almost. But according to reports, that attack, which was blamed on Israel, which Israel has not commented on, they like to say we don't comment on foreign reports.
Yeah.
So that one also targeted a senior Islamic Jihad operative who was responsible for the communication between Syria, Damascus, and Gaza. But apparently he wasn't killed. His son was killed and his granddaughter was injured.
But can it be that he was killed and they hide it?
It could be.
Okay. But he's more important than the guy from Gaza, or less important?
No, I think because of Abolata's independence and the fact that he liked to go against orders.
But they worked together.
They worked
in
together.
Theory to.
So I mean, Abu Alata was the commander of the armed forces of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. I mean,
in the northern strip.
In the northern strip, meaning there's a different commander in the southern strip, and there's a different. I don't know exactly what the term is, but there's a different head of the organization.
Right, but because of who he was and how he acted, he had the most influence.
He was very dominant.
Yeah. And he also had a lot of other commanders under him who followed him.
I see. And this is also different in a sense that Israel has sort of adopted a policy of refraining from targeted assassinations over the past couple of years. And all of a sudden, this changed. Yeah. How come we refrained, and why did it change?
Well, actually, we saw another targeted killing in May, and that's what actually brought that round to an end.
I see.
Israel targeted a Hamas militant that was responsible for money laundering and getting money into the strip from places like Iran or Turkey. So it's not the first time that we've seen it this year. The policy of targeted killings is a very, very controversial one, especially in terms of, international blowback. And right now, the only entity that has said to Israel that what you're doing is wrong is Hezbollah. Everybody else including the European Union, which today passed a judgment ruling that all product from the West Bank and Golan has to be marked as being in occupied territory. They even said, no, Israel, you're right. You're in the right. Germany said, Israel, you're in the right.
It's because nobody killed, like we didn't kill civilians yet.
Well, 5 civilians were killed
Oh,
Today.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
But-
Sorry, not 5. 2 of them were at least
were
2
terrorists.
yeah.
Those on the motorcycle.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were going to launch a rocket.
Yeah.
It has to be said that the media's blowback, like what I was kind of surprised at kind of the lackluster like way that the media around the world dealt with what was going on. Like I expected much more like harsher criticism from the international media, and I mean I don't know,
Just give
maybe
them
it's not
time.
accurate.
Give them time, man.
But yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's accurate, but I didn't feel like we saw that today.
We didn't. I have, a bunch of friends back in Canada that were like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you near rockets? You have to be in a bomb shelter." I was like, yeah, there are rockets. I don't have a bomb shelter in my apartment.
What? I hope you don't pay as much as someone who does have.
I live in central Tel Aviv.
Oh.
I'm sure I pay a lot more.
You should ask for a discount. Maybe a rocket will hit the house and then it'll be cheaper there.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But still, the media has been, and I think it's understandable, has been today on Israel's side because, like we said before, not many people in Gaza have died.
I really want to talk about, I mean, for me, Israeli media is intolerable. It's, I don't know, to me, here in Israel, when such events happen, it's a 24/7 live broadcast. Now, they can't, there's nothing to
There's not enough
say.
news.
Yeah, there's nothing
you could
to
see it
say.
today with Rafi Reshef was just struggling to like carry on the broadcast.
It's pathetic, and moreover, it feels like they feed like vampires from my panic and my fears, my panic, my adrenaline, right? And they won't let go.
Yeah, but we're doing the same thing right now.
Are we?
And you're talking to a
No.
journalist.
I know. Well, yeah, but you're it's different. I'm talking about channel.
It is
2.
true that like the news kind of I don't know goes crazy over
What
something
bleeds
that there's-
leads, unfortunately. Whatever bleeds leads. And I used to work in television, also as a defense correspondent. And I'm telling you, when I was sent over to Gaza, all day, and I have nothing to say because nothing is really new happening. You have your lives every 5-10 minutes, but nothing is happening.
Right.
So
why
you do have to be like, oh, what do I say? I don't want to be here, but you have to do it because you do need to get the message out. And maybe you might miss one viewer 5 minutes ago, and you'll get that
Right.
viewer the next time around.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, but it's between getting the message out and fighting over ratings because,
That's
like
true.
today in today's world, when you put out some article or some video, it just quickly sinks into the oblivion. So you
Right.
constantly want to have to stay above water.
I also have a problem with the reporters who tell the story, try to make me understand, like, and to sympathize almost with Hamas, or like people who say like, no, the Hamas, they don't want it. It's not, they don't want war. They don't want like,
Yeah.
and you're like, what do you mean they don't want it? Come on, maybe now it's not in their interest, but I mean,
Their
in the
stated
end,
goal is the destruction
yeah.
of Israel. But
So I don't know. It leaves you with a bitter taste, I guess.
But I do wonder why you think that, and maybe this is too early of a statement, like you were saying. We just need to give them time. But why do you think that that all of a sudden the world is not? Is it because there haven't been that many civilian casualties?
Or maybe they're just too busy with what's happening in their own countries.
I see.
Because, I mean, everything has its cycle, right? And there are such issues all around the world, protests all around the world, that maybe for once, what's happening in Israel is not as important in their news cycle as it used to be.
But there's always been stuff going on. What I wonder, and again, I'm probably way too excited about this, but what I wonder is like, have we done something right? Like, have we convinced the world?
No.
We haven't gotten there?
No,
Okay,
it's
cool.
just
So never mind.
it's just a matter of time, because what can happen theoretically, like they can shoot tonight some more rockets in Tel Aviv, then they'll bomb more targets, they'll hit, I don't know, a family in Gaza, and then Hamas will join, and then by tomorrow we can be in a full onslaught, right? And then you invade, and then hundreds of soldiers get killed, and then we kill thousands of civilians, and then the media
Paint
hates
such
us.
an optimistic picture.
Yeah, but isn't it like
It's a never-ending cycle.
yeah, but it's a logical, like, it can happen.
It can,
It
but
ver-
let's cross our fingers, please.
Yeah.
I'd rather that not happen.
Although it should be said that many civilians, mainly at the south, are longing for this to happen because they say essentially, like, we will sustain even harder attacks of missiles if you go there and eliminate the threat, right? Many people say that.
Many people say what to have military.
Meaning that the mayor of Sderot, for example, today was interviewed on the news, and he was saying that we stand behind Israel's attacks and the assassination, the responses to the rocket attacks, and I'm assuming they would be happy. Many in the south around Gaza would be happy if another operation was carried out. They see it as kind of, there's an operation, it quiets things down, and then there's an expiration date, and we need another
No,
operation.
they want Hamas down.
It's
in the
very
south.
interesting when you talk to people in the south, and I go there a lot.
So you tell us what they say.
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
I mean, I remember talking to this one woman who told me that her biggest dream is to be with when she was a kid, she would always go into Gaza, and she would have Gazans come and work on her farm, and her dream was to be able to go back to that, to be able to, have friends again on the other side. But then again, there are others who said exactly like you said, no, we have to have another operation because this quiet that we've had, this deterrence that Israel built up, it's expired.
Does it really contradict each other, though?
It does,
Those
but these are
two-
people in the south.
No, I'm not sure it does contradict because in order to be able to eventually have some peace with them, Hamas needs to go down first for that to happen.
But then who's going to replace them? No, I'm not saying that Hamas needs to stay in power. I'm just saying, who do you want them to be replaced by?
Eitan, you voted
Me?
for Feiglin. You answer.
No, I mean, I don't think there is any. I think that's the consequence of pulling out, like unilaterally pulling out of Gaza, is that you leave it to its own accord, and then this happens. And I don't think there's any. I mean, you're not gonna. I think the idea of these operations once every 3-4 years, like we had with Cast Lead, and is a deterrent, like you said. They're not going to destroy Hamas. I mean, right?
No, I don't think that Israel will be able to remove Hamas from power. The main player who will remove Hamas from power is a Gazan street. And that's why Hamas is acting the way it is, because they want to stay in power.
They're afraid of the street, you think?
They're afraid of the Gaza public, because the Gaza public voted them in how many years ago?
10, 15,
And what have they done?
nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
I want to say F them up even
They've
more.
done nothing.
Yeah.
They've done nothing. And I've had so many friends, and I call them friends, but really they're acquaintances, work acquaintances, who have fled Gaza. And these are people who...
To the Palestinian Authority.
No. They fled either to Turkey or to Europe or North America.
It's not easy to flee.
It's not easy to flee. The amount of time that it took for them to get the money and the ability to cross into Egypt, because the Rafah border is rarely opened.
Right.
And these are people who really, they're just like, I'm done with this. I'm done with all of this violence. And that's what the majority of the street is like. They're saying, Nim Asli, I'm done. Khalas, enough. But you have the people like Hamas who are in power, and Islamic Jihad, which is throwing rockets because they don't want that quiet with Israel. And Hamas, at the same time that it's trying to make the situation better in Gaza, doesn't want to look like collaborators with Israel, because then the street, which, again, is not really friendly towards Israel, right?
So there's a contradiction there, because
Major contradiction.
No, but I'm saying is there's a contradiction there in the sense that is the Gazan street really saying, I'm sick of this? Because they do have there is a sentiment in the Gaza Strip of we need to attack, we need to annihilate Israel. So there is this I mean, they are riding the line kind of and saying, okay, we're sick of it, we don't like the violence, we don't like rockets falling on our schools or whatever, schools in quotations, but at the same time Israel needs to be destroyed because
But like in any country and in any population, there's always two sides, right, or more.
But is the side that's calling for peace and tranquility really the majority?
No,
Okay.
no,
But it's not as maybe it's not as tiny as we tend to think.
it's not.
They're just silent from fear.
Because they can't. Exactly. They're afraid. Because what do they want? Do they want to go to jail? Do they want to be beaten up? Do they want to be, hounded by Hamas police? No. The majority don't want, let's say, peace with Israel, but they want to live a peaceful life. And you don't have to be at peace. That Hamas and Israel don't have to be at peace for them to just have, like the Israeli military wants, a long-term ceasefire.
But you can say that, like, if you polled it, 99.9% of Gaza residents are longing to return to their home in Palestine, and
I think the majority of Palestinians are
Yeah.
like that.
yeah.
So
But I wouldn't put a number on it. I wouldn't say 99.9. I'd say the majority.
that could be
Can we
51.
Can we go
that
for
could be-
95%?
So let's talk about the Iran connection, which is to me seems
Iran.
Iran. I mean, right? They're the biggest threat in the Middle East. So, which is clear from today. But what's the connection there? It's weird to me because Iran is Shia, Palestinian Islamic Jihad in general is Sunni. So why are they supporting them? Do they hate us that much?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're not only supporting the Sunnis in Gaza, but they're also in Iraq. Other than the Shia militias, there are other militias that they're supporting. The same in Syria, same in Lebanon. Hezbollah, a good majority of them also aren't Shia. But Iran wants to surround Israel on every side. Every side. And so if they have the opportunity in Gaza, they're going to take it. And they're going to run with it. And they've been doing that for years.
And I read that, the point that Israel decided to eliminate this terrorist, what again?
Abu al-Lata.
Abu Lata, was when during Netanyahu's campaign, right? Can you tell the story?
The one where he had a rocket fired on him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our second round of elections, Netanyahu was in, I believe, Ashdod, where he was giving a campaign speech. And Baha Abu Lata decided, what a good time to fire in Israel. Maybe I can kill the prime minister.
It was live broadcasted
Yeah.
on Netanyahu's Facebook
Yeah.
page. And probably they watched it.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Everybody has Facebook,
With
right?
popcorn and beer and
Yeah, but then
a
when they-
drinking game maybe.
But not beer.
Yeah,
Not
right,
beer.
right.
But when they saw that they failed, I'm sure they were down.
But what we know is that probably they saw it and then he said like, okay, let's troll Netanyahu, basically.
No, I think that they saw it and it wasn't trolling, but like I said, it was an opportunity for them that even if they don't hit the prime minister, to see him running off stage, for a lot of people at that time, they're like, why did he run off stage? Why didn't he, stand and be strong and, show the world that he can, stand up to this
Take
type
a
of threat?
rocket?
Yeah, but are
He
you,
did stand for a few minutes.
as he told people to run for shelter.
Yeah.
And you can't have the prime minister of a country, the leader of a country,
Risk.
stay on,
Yeah.
because then people are going to follow him and not
Yeah.
seek shelter.
Right. So okay, so they fired that rocket and it was a mayhem.
So what
Essentially.
happened in the video? Because I didn't see it, and I'm sure many of our listeners. You
there's-
see him.
He's in the middle of the speech, right?
And you hear sirens.
And then you don't hear sirens. Actually, someone tells him there are sirens because they couldn't hear it in the hall.
And just to give
and then-
context, Ashdod is like what? Maybe a minute and a half.
No, Tel Aviv is a minute and a half, I think. Ashdod is...
Ashdod,
30,
Much less.
40, 45 seconds.
Yeah, something like that.
We're talking about the range, guys, because from Gaza they shoot the rocket, right? So if you live just nearby in the kibbutzim nearby, you have like 10 seconds
Even
even less to find shelter. If you live in Sderot, you have 20 seconds or 15 seconds. And if you live in Ashdod or Ashkelon, you're a lucky bastard, because you have
30 to 40.
eternity almost. And
Yeah.
if you're in Tel Aviv, like, you know,
You don't even need to find a
here,
shelter.
you
You
have
don't-
time
you
to
don't
put
even have
pants
shelters.
on. Yeah, sometimes you don't have shelters, but you have time. Like, I live in the 4th floor, so when there's siren, you know,
I rescued my
I
cat
go-
today. That gives you perspective.
yeah, you can go. You can.
I was
brush
in
your
the
teeth.
shelter. I went back and I got the cat, and then I went back to
So
the
you
shelter.
run without them, you selfish bastard.
Yeah, I know.
I go
I like-
straight to my
you're-
dogs.
Really?
I go straight to them. I pick them up. I have one little
But they
small
panic
one.
from the
Oh,
siren,
my
right?
dog panicked today. She was on my lap and she was barking, howling, and shaking. And it was, I think, her second siren. Because the first siren that I had, that we had when I had her, was last year when those rockets were mistakenly fired
by
on
light,
Tel
by,
Aviv.
by
Yeah.
lighting.
Oops.
Oopsies. Well,
Yeah,
today wasn't an
that's-
oops.
Yeah.
But today my dog was petrified. My other dog, she's 11 and a half. She's 70% blind.
She's seen many wars.
She got really sick during the last war with Gaza, and I swore at the time that if my dog died, that I would take it out on Hamas. But she survived. She's a fighter, and today she gave me this look like, again.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, exactly. My other one was screaming, was crying, was shaking,
Wow.
and my
Yeah,
11-year-old
dogs-
was like, oh, no, not having it.
So where are we headed? I mean, what do you think? Like, what can we expect tomorrow? I know you're not a prophet and you can't, but like to give us kind of maybe even the possibilities,
Scenarios.
the different scenarios. Where are we headed tomorrow?
Well, we're almost near the main edition of most news channels here in Israel, so I'm expecting, and this is something my partner was saying all day, and he was on a trip in the north, so he was telling me, go have fun in the south, I'm being safe in the north, but at 8 o'clock, find shelter, because there's going to be rockets.
He actually fled to the north.
He was on like a Yom Kef, a fun day was his job.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, he was saying 8 o'clock, we're going to have rockets. Mark my word. So I'm going to say it, and I do agree with him. 8 o'clock is a time that they do like to have that front
It's amazing
page,
how
that
they manipulate
main edition.
the media here.
Yeah. But I think that
Will we retaliate, though?
we will definitely retaliate. But the question is, will Hamas join in? And if Hamas joins in, there will be more rockets. Israel will have to retaliate against Hamas. So a more wide-ranging strike in Gaza, meaning possibility for more civilian casualties, meaning more rockets on Israel. It can go that way. Or there could be a talk between Egypt, Hamas, Bahal Abu Atta, and the Israelis, trying to get to a sort of understanding, saying, all right,
Abu Atta no, he won't be joining these talks.
sorry, Islamic Jihad,
He won't be attending.
you're right.
If he attends, we're in
spirit.
serious trouble.
In spirit, he'll be attending.
Then zombie apocalypse is upon us.
Yeah. But either a sort of understanding between all parties,
Yeah.
or an understanding that, yeah, we're going to have a few more days of rockets. And that's really what the military is expecting. The military is expecting to have a few days of fighting.
But wait.
Yeah.
Before we do that, what are the chances of a ground invasion? And what does it mean? What is it going to take for that to happen?
I don't think we're going to have a ground invasion just yet.
There's no government. That's the thing.
Exactly.
But then again, there's no government.
I mean, there is
Wink,
a government.
wink.
It's an interim government.
Yeah.
But
So
we
it-
didn't go to war, and we didn't see our troops cross into Gaza in May. I think it was in May that we had thousands of
Yeah.
troops on the border and tanks on
Yeah.
the border.
And
we
3
didn't go
civilians
Because
died.
that was before
Five.
that was
5
before
civilians.
that was before elections.
to war. Right, but
So
we
it's
also
more
might be going
sensitive.
to elections again.
Yeah, but
We don't know what's happening.
But this is the third round, so it's like
yeah,
we're
and
used to
it's
it by
like
now.
3 and 4
What do we
months
say in
ahead.
Israel? Third time ice cream?
Yeah, that and we're
I think
always
it's
between
more like-
elections.
Third time a pile of bleep. Maybe fourth time ice cream.
But I think that the military is acting in such a way that it really does not want a war in Gaza because its main threat, the main enemy that's facing is in the north. And they know that if a war breaks out in Gaza, it's not going to stay in Gaza, right? That strike that was blamed on Israel in Syria, everything is connected.
Right.
And I wrote an article about that a few weeks ago saying everything is connected in this country. And Iran is what's connecting all the dots. And Iran is the main enemy, and Iran, the main threat is in the north. Because they don't have really that many rockets in Gaza, and they have hundreds, if not thousands. They still don't have that same arsenal that Hezbollah and Iran has.
But I mean, couldn't Iran? I mean, this is like in Hebrew you would say strategia begrush. But I'm playing like the Art of War here.
The Arc,
Cheap,
the Arc strategist.
What's the guy who wrote the Art of War?
Uh,
Sue something. I'm like
The Art of the Deal,
I'm like
I
a
know.
poor man's that guy.
I know who wrote the Art of the
But-
Deal, no, but
but-
the Art of the War.
So I'm a poor man's Donald Trump.
Sun Tzu, I think.
Sun Tzu. I'm a poor man's Sun Tzu. So I'm saying, would maybe Iran be stoking the fire in the south around
Distracting us.
Gaza
Look
to
here.
kind of expend our efforts and our money and our attention, and to prepare for a bigger attack in the north?
It could be. And again, something that I wrote
Can't wait to find out.
in an analysis that was 10 days ago when Al-Atta ordered the rocket fire in Israel. Was he distracting Israel from what's happening in the north? And with all what's happening now in Lebanon and in Iraq, where Iran is really feeling pressure from countries that usually they knew that they can count on. So Iran is really busy trying to stop the protests in Lebanon and Iraq. So they're also super busy. So did Al-Atta try to take that attention away to the south? So again, that is something that Iran wants.
Right.
They want that attention in the south because they're busy in the north. But Israel's military can't take its eye on the north, off the north, because, any small opportunity, any window of opportunity, Hezbollah or Iran can take, and Israel's going to be devastated on a level not comparable at all to what Gaza can do to Israel.
In the end of the day, I think it's worth emphasizing that today, I mean, in Israeli eyes, it was really bad because not only we got hit with 70 rockets or
190.
something. Already 190.
Yeah.
190 rockets. These rockets, the IDF decided to not take any risks at all, and they practically paralyzed the whole country, the whole central and southern part of the country.
The majority of people in
canceled
Israel today
schools.
were at home.
They
or in
told
bomb
people
shelters.
don't go to work.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a bit of an exaggeration and even giving
Hey. It wasn't an exaggeration. It was exactly what was needed. I think we should have a few more weeks of that just to make sure
My work
everything's
is not
okay.
canceled.
yeah. But seriously though, why did the IDF do that? Why giving them that pleasure of disabling us so severely?
I don't think it was, them giving us a pleasure. It wasn't pleasurable. I think that
I meant giving the Hamas, the jihad, the pleasure that their rockets caused such an awesome effect on us.
I think that the military, and this is exactly just like what Bibi did when he went to shelter, they take precautions. And everybody should take precautions because at 7 a.m, when the siren rang out in Tel Aviv, did we think that there was only going to be one siren? 2 rockets? No, it could have been much, much worse. And I think that it's better to be safe than sorry.
Any interesting comments or questions or anything before we wrap things up?
No, but we have a bunch of listeners tuning in, saying they're giving us support. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
I wanted to. What I'm wondering is politically speaking. I mean, we talked about the fact that maybe this wasn't politically motivated, but politically speaking, what do you think the ramifications are on the election?
She's not a political correspondent.
No, I know, but do you do you have a take on that, or is it kind of too far away from you?
I'm sorry, I was too busy with dealing with rockets today to think about political ramifications. But I do think that if we do go to third elections, that the way that Netanyahu and now Bennett, who was defense minister, how they're acting today and be it tomorrow in the coming days, will definitely have an effect. And also Gantz, we see what he said, and Smotrich and all the other politicians, definitely will have some sort of ramification if we go to next elections. But it's an if, right?
No, because there was talk today about how the fact that it might somehow help bridge the gap towards a unified coalition.
I think it's BS.
I don't think so.
It's
Yeah.
BS.
I don't think that Netanyahu would sit with Gantz.
No way. On the contrary, I think now, like Bibi and Bennett, who's the new Minister of Defense, it's their time to shine, and that'll help them go to the next elections strong and mighty.
And especially
Hopefully,
that
for them.
that Bennett, we don't know how long he's going to be in defense minister.
Right.
It could be 2 weeks. It could be 6 months, and
Could be a year.
yeah, it could be. Who knows?
Who knows?
But depending on how he acts, his supporters will definitely see if they want to vote for him again or not. And people who didn't vote for him, is he a strong defense minister? Is he doing what needs to be done? Is he listening to the military? Is he taking the right precautions and the right risks? And he's not someone who's just going to listen and rubber stamp everything Netanyahu or Kochavi puts on his desk.
Okay, guys, it's in 2 minutes. It's 8, so it's rocket time. We want to see it live on TV
Or live.
or live here from the window.
Well,
Yeah,
we have the
or we
wrong
can go to
direction.
Yeah,
We don't have the best
We can go
view.
to the roof and it'll be romantic. Anyway, before we go, let's plug your things real quick. Where can people find you, Anna?
I write for the Jerusalem Post. On the Jerusalem Post, you'll find at least 1 or 2 articles by me every day. I'm on Twitter at @Ahronheim, also on Facebook at @Ahronheim. That's AAHRONHEIM. I tweet all the time. If you like dogs, you'll see dog pictures. If you like military, you'll see military.
Do the two ever
They
meet?
do. They do meet. And I actually tweeted a picture today of a dog being treated by a first responder following a missile
that's
strike.
nice.
So they do mesh
Come
very well
together.
together sometimes.
Okay, guys. Thank you for the Jewish Journal. We're live there, and for Arutz Sheva. And
Check them out.
Check them out.
JewishJournal.com and IsraelNationalNews.com.
.com, and we're the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast. Please subscribe, and see you later this week with a new episode. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you. Bye, guys.
guys.